She is on fire. A few times. Maybe one more gusto, but that was much. My sheep is on fire.
Welcome to Tafad. Live and direct. Tafad Tan. We are here in Cardiff Centre in the castle. In the castle, right here with Flap Sandwich and the WoodooMan. The WoodooMan, right here.
WoodooMan.
WoodooMan.
The voodoo. What do you dare do, people?
So, Croeso, welcome, yeah, to Cardiff, live and direct from the castle. I'm here with myself, Ninja, and also
Flap Sandwich. Bonjour.
Flap Sandwich and the WoodooMan. And this is Tafad Tan. And it's Monday afternoon. Yeah, it's a lovely atmosphere, you know, at the castle. And Flap Sandwich, how was your week been?
Can't remember. I think it was okay.
And your weekend? You think it was okay? Yeah, and my weekend was okay. It was all right.
What did you get up to?
I watched Queen Gambit.
What's that? A film?
Yeah, it's a film, Chess Queen. It's about a girl who loses her mother in a car accident, then gets taken into care. And while she's in care, she plays chess with a chess player who works here downstairs in the basement. And she becomes an excellent chess player. And it was mainly dominated in that time by the male population. It was seen as a male sport. And she turned it all upside down on its head.
Yeah.
And it was ruled by the Russians. Yeah, Russian chess players. And have you played chess? You like the game?
I used to play, yeah. I had had a few games when I was younger, and I couldn't really get my head around, the whole thing really. I'd play with my dad or something, and it was more just out of curiosity, and just it was like a novelty. You know what I mean? Because I'd seen the chessboard and I'd seen the pieces, and there was something visually. I thought it was quite stunning, and if you get nice chess pieces, it's just a nice thing to look at, really. Tiny little sculptures, on this board. But it wasn't until I went to India when I was 19, or 21 years ago. I was in India, and I was there with my girlfriend, and we met this Austrian couple. And
in India?
Yeah. And the guy, Martin, he was really into chess. I mean, he loved chess. And so he kind of like taught me a little bit more about the game. And then it came really handy because we were on this train for like 3 days, going from the south of India ride up to the north, and 3 days on a train is quite hefty.
3 days.
Yeah. Because you hear people talking about long journeys, like 4 hours, 5 hours, and then you go somewhere like that, and you're talking like 24-hour bus journeys and stuff like that. So 3 days on a train. So we played a lot of chess, and it was amazing actually. I mean, there's loads. When you're on a journey like that, and on an Indian train, there's no real windows on a lot of the carriages. It's just they're just bars across the windows. You know what I mean? So you're really kind of like exposed to all the odors, all the smells. So when you go passing through villages and wherever, you can smell it. You can smell anything, everything.
Yeah.
The smoke coming from the fire. That's what I love, and that's the smell I really like. And whenever I smell it, wherever I am in the world, it feels like I'm home. And that's the smell of fire, smoke. Fire. Home fires burning. That smell. It's a homely smell.
Homely.
Yeah, and it's something we've lost actually. We've lost that connection. I reckon that's probably one of the reasons. So-called civilized society is, it's got all its values kind of like, all twisted and pretty upside down really, with all the emphasis on material wealth and all the rest of it, and the accumulation of money, to buy rubbish. Yeah. And I mean, I can tell you myself, that maintaining or establishing a really healthy relationship with fire is something that really changed my life. It really did. And it helped me unlock the power of my voice then. Because before I went to the fire, my voice was, I don't know, you get conditioned into believing certain things. And then, when your voice breaks, if you're a man, when your voice breaks, if you're someone who sings like I was, when your voice breaks, sometimes it's, it can take years for you to kind of find your tone, and even your, let alone like your tone, but like your confidence, the confidence to actually project that voice, with intent and with purpose, And so that coming to the fire for me in a ceremonial way, kind of unlocked that power for me. It wasn't just the power of my voice, but to really get in touch with myself and what I really wanted to do with my life.
That element, the fire.
The fire. The fire.
In Welsh, fire is
Tan.
Tan.
It is tan.
Tan.
It is tan.
Oh, we got that bit right then.
Yeah.
Tan.
Yeah.
Just taking this back a step slightly, could Ninja maybe just introduce who we have on the show this week, our special guest? Could you say a few words about our special guest and who he is, just for the listeners?
Well,
all two of them.
That's us two.
Actually, we broke a record today. We've got one more listener than last week.
There's a couple of reindeers over there as well.
Yeah, we'll rob them in later.
Glow in the dark.
Yeah. Well, I was in Welsh Club and I met Clint in the Welsh Club.
Yuan.
He reminded me of Clint Eastwood.
I get it.
Yeah. He was fast at collecting the coats, getting them back to the person. Yeah.
It's got the coolness of Clint Eastwood as well, man. Yeah, I see.
And Johan. Is it like Johan, as in,
Yuan, isn't it?
Yuan with a W. I-W.
Something like Johan Cruyff. Yuan.
No, I think the root of the name is the same as John. Johan is kind of Johan, John, Yuan, and I think it's the same root.
Okay.
And it means yew tree.
Does it?
Yew tree?
Yeah.
Oh my
so
God.
it's a tree of death and rebirth, alchemy and transformation.
Oh.
So it's the alchemist's tree.
Nice.
And the tree of seeing as well.
So if someone was pointing to us from over there, go, you three.
Yeah.
You three.
There you go.
I'll get Jasper Carrot live on the show.
death, and rebirth.
Carrot's commercial breakdown.
No respect there, mate.
I used to quite enjoy that actually back in the day. You know, I used to,
Yeah,
I used to
enjoy
find him
it,
quite
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
But I watch him now and I think, what a knobhead. You know, I mean, you
Have
know,
you seen him? Is he still
without
going?
judgment. You know what I mean?
Still going, is he? I don't know.
No, but it's just no. I mean, you know, when I saw him last on TV, you know, as I, you know, think the same really of most TV programs.
Yeah,
You know,
it's gone to shit.
what a load of rubbish.
Yeah, it has gone into a pile of shite.
So, Ninja, tell us a bit more about Yuan, aka Clint.
Yeah, well, when I met Yuan, Clint, I said Clint because I'm Clint Eastwood. He had that. Yuan in the cloakroom at Club Everback, right? I used to go to the Welsh Club. I used to talk to Yuan about various different things, and I've seen Yuan used to read a ferocious amount of books, yeah, different types of books, especially one of them was Life of Caesar.
It was Battle for Gaul. It was to do with his his commentaries on the wars he fought over there and the strategy, basically war strategy. Yeah.
And you know, also I used to see Yuan's drawings. He used to have drawings and draw stuff as well, and I seen his artistry and he had a phenomenal mind, yeah, in various different ways, you know, various different topics and stuff. And your dream was to bring out these visions that you had, and you did. Yeah. So what started you on the journey of becoming an artist?
Do you know what
inspired you?
Yeah, it's interesting because like someone asked me a similar question. I was on a podcast with a friend of mine, Lloyd. Lloyd, yeah. And funnily enough, I saw him in here. Do you know him? You don't know Lloyd?
Lloyd.
No. He's a famous Welsh author, Lloyd Owen. So I was in school with him, and he does these podcasts, and he talks to various people, you know, interviews them, asks them to, you know, share about their lives and stuff like that. So he was, he shared with me that he was always intrigued about me and how I was so creative at such a young age. So I think it's a natural phenomenon for kids to be creative as long as it's nurtured. And I think that's the advantage that I had really was, you know, I was always encouraged, you know, by my parents. I had a poster on my bedroom wall when I was a little boy. It was Starry Night by Van Gogh. And my favourite little book was this Penguin Classics book, which was, it was a book about Van Gogh. Just, you know, a picture book with some text, which I didn't read until much later in my life. But, you know, I used to ask my dad about paintings and about him. And he used to tell me stories about him. Three of my favourite paintings from that book were The Potato Eaters.
Yes.
Which is probably one of the most famous paintings ever. Also, self-portrait with bandaged ear, smoking a pipe, just after he cut his ear off. And the other one was Starry Night, which I had on my wall.
Nice.
So
cut off his ear.
He cut off his ear, after having an argument with his friend, who's also a very, very famous artist. They lived together, Paul Gogh. So they had an argument. They argued over lots of different things, but mainly it was their point of view. So it's basically, you know, two egos fighting each other. You know, it's gonna get messy, especially when absinthe's in the mix. You know what I mean?
He said he ain't listening to him anymore.
Yeah.
Cut the ear off and threw it away.
Well, there's lots of stories why he did it. You know, and I mean, apparently that's what triggered it, was this argument. People say that or according to legend, that he put it in a box and gifted it to a prostitute who
Yes, I heard that.
was his lover.
Yeah.
So I mean, with all these things, you don't really know what happened unless you were there, unless you were really him. If you were him and you walked in his shoes, like
I tell you what was fascinating. Have you ever read his letters?
I have, yeah, but
That blew me away.
Yeah,
There was a lot of info in there. I thought like an insight into his psyche a little bit.
Yeah.
It's probably my favourite book. It's just like a collection of his letters to his brother. Mainly.
Theo, yeah.
Fucking amazing.
He was his
really,
sponsor. He was like,
that's right. Yeah.
He was, because I think he sold like one painting in his whole life, but he had to do it just for his sanity.
True artist.
True. Well, yeah, true artist, just creating. I guess that's where art does come. It comes from nothing. It comes from nothing, and you create it. I don't know, why do you create it? You create it because you feel desire to create it. You feel the desire to express. It's just expression, isn't it? It's authentic expression.
So what hurdles did you have to go over to produce the kind of artwork that you produce? What kind of hurdles? What intense made your art so intense?
Well, it's like it's the journey is like you just create something maybe without intention to begin with. When you're really young, it's just it's just creating, isn't it? And then as you learn about different art and artists and different modes of expression and stuff, that fuels it all. And then you've got life experience. For me, what really changed things for me was when I was in high school. I was about 14 years old, and I started to lose interest in competitive sports, and felt like, I wasn't interested in that, anymore.
Why not?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't that I wasn't interested in physical sports, but I think it was the competitive aspect, and I think it was to do with a lot of the, I don't know, just a lot of the attitudes around it, the machismo, or whatever you want to call it, macho, image. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I said it in like as if I was Spanish then, but that aspect of life for me, it's like, it's all, I don't know, it's I don't like it. I'm not judging it, but it I just felt like
you didn't want to be the Don Dada.
Well, I you got your preferences in life, don't you? You know what I mean? You got your preferences exactly, yeah.
Or what it takes.
Whatever, and I don't know. My interests change, and I started in my teens. I started experimenting with different things, you know what I mean? Like ingesting different things, substances.
What was that like?
Mushrooms was the one really that really opened my eyes to stuff, and that changed my mode of expression. So that was kind of like, where things started changing, and I started looking at different artists, and looking at surrealism and abstract expressionism and stuff like this, and then I don't know, I just started reading a lot more and tapping into like poetry and educating myself more, listening to lots of music.
Who was your favorite poet? Who poets that influenced you?
When I was really like sort of like, I don't know, when I was quite young, actually, when I was about 14, 15, I had this English teacher, Mrs. Bradley, and before she taught me, my English was terrible. Like my grammar was just, I had no interest whatsoever. And then she introduced us to, poets like John Keats, stuff like that. And, there's William Blake and, all this kind of thing. I mean, William Blake for me was a huge influence and still is. And I see a lot of similarities in our modes of expression, or where it comes from, because really everything comes from the unconscious. But there's very few artists out there, I would say, who have got the courage and the discipline
up like he did.
to actually go in there and actually express it, you know, because there's a lot of people, you know, who won't express it, or they pretend that it's not there or not worth expressing, or, you know, I don't know, or that it's uncomfortable to look at a lot of the time. And I think that's, you know, that's what I was really interested in, and that's what really fired me up, was like, you know, all these things that are kind of denied by society, and denied by, you know, been denied for like, you know, a long time, you know, by the church and all this thing, you know, the categorization of like good and evil and all this stuff, you know. And so I was always kind of, drawn to that mystery, which is, you know, the darkness, the unknown. The unknown, yeah. That's what I was always drawn to. And, you know, my life took me there. I was always intrigued by it. And, you know, I feel like, you know, I've unlocked so many of my own gifts and remembered a lot of stuff. Maybe, you know, it's like a remembering of, you know, that we are like, you know, these kind of like beings. We're not just people, you know, we're like beings, eternal beings with unlimited capabilities, really. You know, we've
So
lost
more than meets the eye.
Yeah,
we are
totally. Yeah.
So can I ask you, when you talk about sort of expressing the darkness or expressing from the unconscious, is there a way that you personally connect with that? I mean, you say some artists don't necessarily do that. Is there a way you connect with that, to that unconscious?
Yeah. Well, it's
like a technique or a system, you know, to get in there.
Well, there's lots of different ways of doing it. I mean, my personal journey, my own journey, was, you know, through real like struggle with addiction, really. So it was like the addiction took me there to all these places of like, you know, desperation, need, pain, physical pain, emotional pain, you know, all of it. So it was like, you know, there's ways of doing it. Like sometimes it happens just because, you know, your life just takes you there, and your, you know, your tendency to explore these areas just takes you there. I feel like everyone has to find their own way, and you know, not everyone is going to go there, you know, because it's not really for everyone, although it's available to everyone, you know. I know. I think the best way is to put down as many distractions as you can and be with yourself. I mean, you know, the traditional way would be go to a cave or go somewhere, be in isolation. I mean, one of the things that I do, I didn't do it this year because of the current situation, but you know, quite often, you know, as soon as spring comes, or, you know, the weather starts warming up, I just take a tent up to the mountains. My uncle's got some land up there. I just camp out for 4 or 5 days on my own. No phone, no reading material, a notebook, a fire, a cooking pot, simple food, the sound of the running water, the river, and the fire, and that's it.
Fantastic.
Yes. So that's, I mean, for me, that's kind of like, yeah, I would say solitude and a fire. That's a really good way, because that fire will actually bring to light certain things that you may not have given the space to look at before, or is bringing light into your awareness to actually see things how they are, you know, because a lot of people don't realize that actually they're responsible for their lives, or they have the power. They have the power to really change things if they want to change it.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like, you know, what I got from, you know, that aspect of, you know, exploring my inner world, was like unlocking that power, and then, you know, establishing a relationship with fire, you know, solitude, because then what you can do then is if you spend a bit of time doing that, and you unlock these gifts, whatever they are, and then you can go back and share those gifts then with the world. Or
you unlocked me at the time. I come to see in the cloakroom. You showed me a picture. You may not remember.
Oh, this is news to me.
No, seriously. This is serious, man.
Yeah.
You showed me a picture, and this picture related to me where I was in that period of time, which one picture did. And the picture was, I think it was by Monk.
Oh, yeah.
And you showed me in the cloakroom his art, and you showed me that picture. And that said so much to me because it was one picture that explained everything all in that one moment. How I actually felt about a lot of things, but I wouldn't be able to explain it all. I'd be there all day. And that one picture, and that was and that was in the cloakroom. Yeah. So if you ever wrote a book, right, called The Cloakroom, I definitely go and buy it. I learned so much.
Yeah, me too, man. I learned a lot, I learned a lot just working there, but people like yourself coming in, it was a big period of my life that, but no, there was an aspect of me that felt a bit lost, but being creative and expressing myself the way I was and reading and stuff and my interactions in there, it was priceless, really. That job taught me a lot, and met so many people from all walks of life as well,
The thing about it that amazed me as well is that what you have become today and the achievements that you've achieved through your art and going off to Peru and that, which is amazing that you actually took the journey and you explained it to me in the cloakroom what stages you're going to go through to transcend from the point where you were, right, and all the different problems and things that were going on at that time, step by step and stage by stage. And I'm a witness to your vision and also meeting you many times, your execution of these things. It was very, very inspiring. How did you achieve these stages under so much of the pressures that was going on in your life? And remember, the body works by habit, so that means you'd have to break habits. Yeah, you'd have to be consistent. You'd have to have vision. You'd have to have subject knowledge, right? You'd have to have discipline, and all of these different aspects. You are an embodiment of that. Sitting right here now, in your brown boots, your green trousers, and a lovely jacket. Yeah. Your curly hair, smile. How you do that? How you do that?
How do I do that? Oh, man. Yeah. You know what, Ninja? It sounds like a cliche, but it's literally one step at a time, baby steps. And yeah, I mean, there is an element of like, kind of strategy, but it's really taking care of like the priorities, and yourself, you train, and you were a big inspiration for me as well at the time, that I saw how well you took care of yourself, your physical strength, your training, your perseverance. So that was a big inspiration for me. And I remember you telling me, about, diet and how important it was to take care of myself. So yeah, I mean, that's where I started really, was like having a look at my diet. I mean, I was aware of my my drug habits. So, bit by bit, I cut that out. And at the same time as I was cutting that out, I was improving my diet. So improving my diet, and at the same time I was improving my diet, it was kind of like one would overlap the other. So, you start, cutting out the self-destructive habits, and then bringing in, healthier foods. And then before you know it, there's no unhealthy habits there, or very few. And then you've replaced all those unhealthy habits, or, dietary habits, or whatever they were, sugar, whatever, with healthy foods, raw eating and all the rest of it. And then, as you're eating healthier, you bring in, more physical exercise. So, it was kickboxing, qigong, tai chi, kung fu. I did all these disciplines. So then, there was a couple I kept doing, and that was the qigong I kept doing, and I didn't do so much of the tai chi, so the qigong, and I started doing a yoga system as well called the 5 Tibetans, which is
what's that about, that one there?
It's amazing if you look it up. It's known as the 5 Tibetans in the West, or the 5 rites of rejuvenation, and it was something that was taught to, I think it was like an army colonel that was stuck in Tibet. I think it was during the Second World War, and a monk taught him this system, and he brought it back to the West. And it's incredible, I mean, the other night someone was asking me, about my age, and I told them, and they were like, "What?" They were like, "No, you can't be. You've got to be 10 years younger than that." And I'm like, "So I'm not going to tell you my age on here."
You can guess, and if you get it right, send you a CD.
Yeah. And some free sugar. We got sugar.
Yeah, keeping you sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have
nice sugar habit.
We have 2 people in the chat. We have Gree says aye, and we have Ivan who says Wagwan.
Wagwan.
So yeah, did I finish what I was saying then? It was just
Sorry, carry on.
No, I just wanted to kind of elaborate a bit. So so diet, exercise, and I mean, you hear a lot of people going, "Oh yeah, I do this. I go to I do yoga," but they go to one class a week, and then they don't practice. So, the key is like regular practice, as like if you're going to train, you train every day, or at least every other day. But with a discipline like yoga or qigong or tai chi, it's like every day, and
at the same time.
Well,
it's time to just get it in.
What do you mean now with
with qigong or yoga? From your point of how you overcame things, is it regular? Every day at the same time, or?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, what I was finding, because when I left the club, because I was working there till 2009, and then they started laying off people, because the credit crunch had just come in. It was like, so that job went. That was a blessing in disguise in a way. So that was another key aspect of my recovery, was getting out that club,
pushing you forward,
getting out that club, and then getting off the medication I was on. It is willpower and perseverance, and actually, the realization of like, okay, I've got a lot to offer the world. Sort of like remembering like what you're about, really. Because sometimes when you're in a job for a long time, it's just about working and making money, and then spending that money on stuff that's no good for you. So that was the kind of trap I was in for a while. So as soon as that job went, and then I kind of like started like getting myself together again, eating, exercising. It doesn't matter whether you do it at the same time every day, but what I do find now, because I still practice now, qigong, yoga, first thing in the morning, or I usually spend a couple of hours just sitting, looking at the sky out the window, because that's a really good practice as well for like clearing your mind.
Out the window, just looking at the sky, looking at the birds flying, actually witnessing
what's happening. Yeah, just witnessing everything. Yeah, and realizing you're a part of it all. So yeah, there's a lot of medicine work as well involved. A lot of detoxing.
So the other one that's really difficult, right? Is sometimes when you exercise or you're doing something, or withdrawing from something, especially yours has been a lot more intense. But even caffeine or anything, right? Your body goes on a down, and it's how you deal with those down times where you feel like, even with exercise, sometimes I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. You know, I have these feelings where at that time I just feel like shit. But I'm just like plodding through. You know, that is where you know, my admiration goes out to you, because as well at those times you imagine you pushed through. So how did you find it at those times?
Yeah, it was hard, man. I mean, you know, it wasn't plain sailing. You know, I had relapses along the way where I had really bad days and I'd fall off a wagon and go out and score. You know, yeah. I mean, but that's part of it as well, because, you know, you fall off or you fall down and then, you know, you're like, okay, you've got to kind of like, you can't just dwell on it and kind of like, you know, feel sorry for yourself. You've got to kind of like, you know, just forgive yourself for falling over, like, you know, falling. Oh yeah, well, you know, I'm human. You know, I'm gonna get up again, and I'm gonna go. You know, keep going. You know, it's and it's all this really. It's, you know, the essence of self mastery is really about, you know, having that awareness that you can choose which thought you're going to follow, and that's the magic. I mean, that's the real magic we're talking about here, is working with intent.
Yeah, power of intention.
So power of intention. So one of the things that I rediscovered around 2008, 2009 were the books by Carlos Castaneda. Yeah. And regardless of whether...
Coyote.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, regardless of whether, you know, these are fact or fiction, it doesn't really matter, because the message in these books is really clear, and it's really about, you know, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah.
You know, stop. You know, you know, and start making every moment count. So, like, you know, if we wake up in the morning with you know, with the intention of, so when I wake up in the morning, all right, not every day, but like I try my best to remember that this could be my last day on earth. I try and remember that. I try and remind myself of that, you know. And then once you kind of got that awareness of like, okay, you know, death is here all the time. Actually, you know, that could take me at any moment. You know, it only takes one little bit of, you know, what's it called? I haven't got my English brain on today.
Bad luck.
But well, whatever you want to call it. one step over there, and like
yeah, and the hair's gone.
Yeah. So, you know, if you live your life with that level of awareness of like, okay, this is my last day on earth, then what are you going to do, man? You're gonna. I mean, some people would be like, well, I'm going to go get as fucked up as I can, but you know,
rape and pillage.
You know, you know, I mean, you know, some people will well. Everyone's going to do their own thing, but if you live with that level of awareness, then, you know, your life will change, mostly for the better, I would say. I mean, it's changed my life for the better. And if you just take, there's 3 things I do in the morning, not every day, because I haven't always got the time to do it every day. But once I've done my exercises, I sit in silence for a minimum of 7 minutes. Most of the time, 7 minutes, because that's like you know, it's not too long. It's enough time, quiet your mind. And then once you've done that, I out loud, okay, I just express, you know, where I'm at. You know, I'll just express like I'm expressing to you now, you know, what I'm expressing. Where am I at now in this moment? So this morning, you know, I just voiced the fact that, you know, I was feeling the, you know, the pressures of the full moon. And I was just sharing, you know, with spirit, with the invisible, you know, about, you know, my concerns and stuff. And once I shared that, you know, it's like once you share something, even if there's not you know, no people here, it's just you expressing it, you're letting it go. So full moon's a really good time to let go. So I expressed my concerns, and I felt like, okay, the weight's been lifted off me. And then what I like to do then is I like to voice a prayer of intent or a prayer. So it's like actually like asking for something, or for something to change, for, you know, if there's someone in my life that I feel like oh yeah, they could do with some help now, then I kind of just, I just voice a prayer or something for them first off. And then what you find quite often is if you voice something for someone like that, so I can't remember. Oh yeah, I just said a little prayer for a friend of mine today about for my friend's health. And usually, if you voice something like that for someone else, it's like they're gonna receive it on the ether. This is it's all energetics, and
Energy
then
levels, yeah.
because it's like what you wish for someone else, you're wishing for yourself as well. That's why it's so detrimental to people when they're really wishing other people harm, because actually what you're doing is you're actually wishing harm upon yourself as well.
Yeah.
So then once I say a little prayer for a friend or family member or whatever, or it can be for the collective. So that's the idea. You express where you're at in the morning, you do a little prayer for the collective, and then what you do then is you voice your intent for yourself. So so I'll just give you an example. Today I voiced that I wish to be relaxed in my body, silent in my mind, and centered in my heart. So that's like you're kind of setting the stage then, or you're setting yourself up for the day nicely, that way, and then if you kind of like do that, what you'll find is the day it just changes. Everything changes then. Every moment changes, because now you've got that new level of awareness and you remember what you've just voiced as well.
Direction of energy as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's all energy. And that's what we forget is we live in a world of energy. It's not like all solid. You know what I mean? This isn't really solid.
No, it's just energy slowed down, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's amazing. So we live in a world of energies.
Yeah.
And then one thing that kept me going as well was a scientific principle that no energy is actually destroyed. So if you was to train every day, in fact, that's going into a bank, your energy bank. So when you're ready to tap it, it's there. You're never losing it. Whereas with money and material things, you can lose those, right? And never get them back. But that energy or that potential energy is always there and can retrieve itself back and multiply itself. So another thing I grasp from what you were saying is you didn't start off with self first. You started off like giving to someone else. Yeah. And then you put yourself last, which is, first shall be last and last shall be first, which is very compassionate and an amazing quality.
Well, it does. It doesn't have to go in that order, and it's just something I've learned from working within ceremony. Sometimes. So, one of the things that I used to do was I used to do work with fire, but in the teepee with medicine people. And it's quite a big job. But I love doing it. So you just man a fire from the time the sun sets until the sun rises the next day, and the fire has to be done a certain way, symmetrical.
When it's symmetrical, it's
and
tongue of fire.
And then
so how did you get to be the tongue of fire?
My coffee last week was so hot it melted my tongue to a stump.
Slowly.
It looks a bit stumpy.
Still hurting, man.
Stumpy tongue. I don't know where I was going with that then.
Hey, can I just put in 1 second, because our battery's going to run out.
All right.
This is definitely not long enough for where we could go with this show, because
we'll do part 2.
I think we need to do part 2, man. So the battery's going to pop in about a minute. So
we'll
should we talk about your music a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
About the new album, maybe. Could you tell us a bit about that and where the listeners could maybe listen and download?
Okay, so my latest project, WoodooMan. The album Obsidi Love, which is a big collaboration between myself and some amazing musicians here in Cardiff, featuring Kate Woodward, from Obey Cobra on vocals and backing vocals. Paul Battenberg from No Thee No S and The Cosmic Array. He's on guitar on a couple of tracks. You got Stephen Gordon Goundry from Ghost Lawns and Gulp. He plays bass on quite a few tracks. You've got Andy Fung playing drums on 8 of the 9 tracks. He's from Symbiont. And then you got Frank Norton, amazing producer. Just an amazing team of musicians. And so that's now out on Bandcamp. It's been on Bandcamp since Friday. That was the release day. It's also available on a lot of streaming platforms. So it takes a little while for everything to be distributed on these streaming platforms. Yeah, if you want to listen, you can just go over to my Bandcamp page. It's WoodooMan.bandcamp.com. And then I think you can listen to the album a few times before you buy it, if you decide to buy it. And it's only $5 if you want to buy yourself a digital copy of that album. So yeah.
Excellent. And we have one question from the audience for you.
Mm-hmm.
Does Iwan eat raw meat?
I do occasionally.
You do occasionally?
Yeah, but it's not a huge part of my diet.
It
but
isn't?
you know,
Okay.
I'm one of these people who I eat most things wherever I go in the world. So you know, it's like
Adaptable.
You know, I adapt and adjust
Awesome.
accordingly.
Fantastic interview. I wish we could go deeper, but we are limited by time at the moment. So we're going to wrap up there. Any closing words, Ninj?
Stay in tune, right, to Tafad Tan. Don't forget, Monday, be here or be nowhere.
Yes.